Welcome guys to professional local development using Linux and WSL on Windows. So we will be having the Linux working on Windows. Let's get started to see. Alright, so first of all we need to install Ubuntu in our Windows. So for that just go to the Microsoft Store. When you open it, it's gonna give you the search on top. Just search for Ubuntu and it is going to give you the various options. The latest one is the 24.0.4 long-term support LTS, so you can get that. Click on it, it is going to install. And let's see, so I'm downloading it. Based on your internet speed, it will take some time, so we get started once it is done. Okay, so here is the Ubuntu and it says open, so I click open. It is going to open the terminal, the command line interface for us, and you can see it says installed. It may take a few minutes, so let it do what it is going to do. It is going to make it ready. Once ready, you will have the interface in front of you, so we're going to wait till then. Now it is asking for the username and password. Here you can set up the username and password. For now I'm going to set up in my local system username Ubuntu, and it says it's already there, so you can put anything like. And now I need to set up a password. Retry to confirm the password. Password is now set up. Now everything is done. You can see that now we have the Ubuntu up and running. It's just like you have in the server, so you can now clear the screen. You can try any Ubuntu commands here. You can set up as a local server here. So if I say ls and cd var, I go to those Ubuntu directories. So this is full-fledged Ubuntu 24.04 running here. Now let's update it first of all. So I say here sudo apt and update, and it is asking for passwords. So provide the password you set up. And for the first time these commands needs to be run, now the sudo apt upgrade -y. What -y is to saying automatically saying like proceed, and if you need permission we are giving you. So this is gonna update the software to the latest one, the Ubuntu. So yeah, now I'm going to install the Docker on it so that we can have our applications working on it. So first, I will be providing you the commands in the descriptions as well, so you can have all these commands. No worries about that. Okay, so this is done. Now I'm going to copy paste a few commands for Docker. Now here it is asking for yes. So if you pass the -yes at the end, it will not ask this. So I'm going to say yes here, and it is going to install the required files. Now another command. And then after this we need to go and download some additional, hit enter. All right, again sudo apt update, and after that I'll say this time go for the Docker, and yes. Okay, let's start the Docker, and we need to enable it as well. So okay, let's check the version. So for that we say sudo docker -- version, and we can see we have this version installed. I also need to install the Docker compose, so I'm gonna use this command here. It is downloading the Docker compose now. Okay, and we can check this as well, docker compose -- version, and spelling should be correct. So you can see that the version is also coming. So we have Docker up and running. Now we need to run the commands, because if you go here and you say, let's say here I say docker and docker ps I get the permission denied. So if I say here sudo docker ps, then you can see we get the containers options. So the thing is that we need to add the user in the Docker group. For that, I'm gonna run another command. Here it is. So this is going to add the, and now we can try. So if I say here, I'm hoping it will still give me the error. So Docker PS. So we're still getting the error. What you can do, you can restart your server. So I just, I'm gonna say here, sudo reboot. All right, now I'm gonna open it again. And here we're gonna say docker ps. So one another thing, we need bash. So I'm gonna remove here and I'm gonna say bash for Windows. So PowerShell, sorry. So we need to get this too. And okay, let's open it. And we need to run WSL -- shutdown. So it will stop the WSL. Now I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to close this, and we need to run the Ubuntu again. So for that, just search for Ubuntu. You get your app, you can pin it to your taskbar. So I'll do that. Now when I say here docker ps, we get the containers and everything there. So we want to use it for the development server on the Ubuntu. So for that, I have written a blog post as well, and we're going to follow that blog post now from here to make our PHP application running. So what we're going to do, I have the link in the description for this post. You can follow that, and here what exactly it is, what that we need to create a few files. So step by step, I'm going to do here, and then we will have this application running in our local computer. So let's do that. First thing, when we say here as a cd, you can create, I'm already in menu user, so you can, if you created your username, then it's the perfect place to create the directory where you want to have the project. So for that, we use command mkdir, and I want to say projects. So in this directory, I can have all my projects. To see in this directory currently what we have, I can say list items by ls. So ls will show me that I have this projects folder here now because I just created it. So going inside this projects folder, I use cd and I say pro. When I say anything after PR and then I hit tab, it is going to complete the line and I can go straight away. So I'm inside projects now. ls there is nothing currently. So what I do, I say here another directory mkdir, and I'm gonna call it test. So it's a test project we are working on. So if I ls here, we have test. So I go inside cd test, and inside it I'm gonna create a file. Okay, so that's gonna be the Docker file. So here we need to create the structure based on here in the post is given. So we need to create something like this. So we will have our PHP application, and we will have nginx and default.config inside it, and then we have www and then index.php inside it, and then 2 Docker files. Now this particular directory we can use open in the VS Code. So for that, what you can do, you simply say here explorer.exe. all right, and then for current directory hit enter. It is gonna open this folder here like this, so you can see that. So I go here, and this test is exactly the same test folder that is inside the Ubuntu. So you can now open it in the Visual Code Studio, Studio Code. So okay, I have it here. So I'm gonna just drag and drop there. I remember open. Right guys, so the error we were getting, what we need to do, go into the settings, look for security, and there is the restrict UNC access. When you uncheck this, it will ask you to restart the Visual Studio Code. So do that. After that, you will be able to access the files. So I say here explorer.exe, current directory. It opens the directory. I say simply open this here. So now we have it there. Now if I say here, let's create a file, Docker file, and then I say create another file which is I'm gonna call it docker compose.yml. So these two files we created here. If we go to here to the terminal, and here if I say ls, go inside test and ls, so you will see that those files are created there inside Ubuntu. So that's what we want. Now what we want to do here is that I want to follow this article. So here first thing we have to do is create the Docker file, and here is the code for it. So you can straight away copy it and I'll show you what exactly is happening. So we copy, go here and paste in a Docker file. So starting with, we are creating the 8.3 PHP image. So, and here we are installing the required packages. For example, if you need any additional packages, you will put here curl, for example, and just like this, it is going to add the curl. For now, I'm just going to leave it as it is, how it is given in the article. So if you need to make any changes or add any other packages, you can do that here. Then we are setting the default directory, which is a working directory. So when we are going to work, this is the folder where all the files will be going to go, and we'll be using there. We are putting everything from the current folder. We need here a folder called www, and any code file, PHP code put here will go in our working directory. All right, so that's how it is going to work. We are installing the composer here. In case you in your project you want to use composer, so we have composer here. All you need to do, create a composer.json file, and it is going to install all the packages accordingly. Now we are exposing the port 9000. The reason is because we are using Nginx, and Nginx is a proxy server, but it's going to work with the 9000 port, and it's going to expose it to port 80. So if I go to the post here, in the post we have a directory structure, so we need to create the exact way. So we have two files, then www, inside I create the index.php. We can say anything in here. Let's say echo this page is for test, anything. So this is going to display. Now we need to create another directory here outside, which is going to be Nginx. All right, and inside we need the default.conf. Spelling is default.conf, so that's what there is, default.conf, and this is a configuration file. So if you go here, let's copy this code for default.conf and go inside here, paste it. Now let's see. So here we are saying like, okay, for the local hosts, it is going to work for port 80. So it is going to serve on port 80. So by default, the port is 80 whenever you go to any website. So when we are going to say localhost in our browser, it is going to go to port 80 and going to get us our project, and you can see that working directory is the same that we have in our Docker file here. All right, so that's how it is going to go, and here it is saying app 9000, and that's exactly what we are saying, port 9000. And this app, we need to define it in the Docker compose file. So for now, I'm going to save this file as well as default.conf. And now let's work with the Docker compose.yml. So here is the code for Docker compose. So let's get that. All right, and I'm going to paste it here. So basically in Docker file, you say like, okay, we want to use the PHP and we want these extensions and we want to use this directory. And in Docker compose, basically you say we want to use 3 services. So 3 or 4, as many services you want. So first is the app that we are creating. So we are saying that this is the directory and we are mounting it to this folder, so that any changes you create here will be reflected there inside container. We have the container name set up, and we are telling use this file. So we are telling context is the current directory, and the file name is this. So look for this file, use this file to create this PHP application. And then afterwards we have Nginx. We are defining the version of Nginx. We're giving the container name. We are telling that the Nginx and default.conf. So it is gonna use this, and it is gonna put inside here inside the container. So we are exposing it to port 8080. So our application will be this Nginx will be running on port 8080. So here the next we have MySQL, and the same way everything is working, the port is defined. We are setting up the username and password here, and we are setting up the container name here in the image with the 8.0. The same way we are saying PHP myadmin. So we have PHP myadmin 5.2.1. Then we are saying container name going to be PHP myadmin as well. We are saying that the root user password is this. So username is going to be root, and the password will be this. And this will be running on port 8081. All right. And we are using the volume for MySQL so that we will not lose our data. So that is DB data. And the network we are creating is the driver for it is bridge, and the app network is the network. So every container will be having the same network. So it is they will be able to talk to each other. Okay, so far so good. So I'm gonna save this file too. Now it's time we test this file, this setup. So we have everything in place, all the files and everything. So if you want to make any changes, you can to deploy it to make it working in our local setup. So why go to the directory here, or you can I prefer this because it's the Ubuntu server running. So if any command line you want to do it from here. So simply say here cd. You need to be in the folder where you have the Docker compose file as well as the Docker file, so that the Docker commands can run here. So we say here Docker compose up -d -build. All right, and it is going to create. So now currently it is downloading the images that we defined in Docker compose file. For example, MySQL image, this one, it will download this image as well as Nginx image from the Docker Hub, and it is going to create you can see that it is currently downloading the MySQL. So one by one it will download all the images, and it is going to run the containers. So let's see, let it complete, and let's see from there. All right, so our application is up. You can see that it completed, downloaded all the packages, then it built, and it also downloaded the Nginx, and after at last it created the containers. So we can run the command here. We can say docker ps to see all the containers are running. So you can see here that our containers for all 4 services are running just fine. Now it's time that we check it. So if I go to the browser and look for, so our application is this test application, and it is running on here. Now because Nginx is the one we are using to redirecting our application, so we can look for localhost port 8080, and when you go there you can see that our application is up and running. That is because we set up it like port 8080. Now in case you just want to run it on port 80, which is like localhost, currently it is not going to work because it is set up for 8080. You need to set up it here as port 80. All right, other than that, everything rest of the will be just fine. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna run it on port 80. So I'm gonna save it, and for that now currently it's not working, no problem. So go back to the Ubuntu. Here we're gonna say in the same folder docker compose down. So we are saying remove all these containers, so because we want to change it, we want to make the port 80 to work. So it is going to remove it. So you can see that it is currently stopping all the containers. So we need to wait till it completes, and it is done. Now we run the command again. Make sure you save the change in the file here. All right, so now we can run this command again. So I hit it, and it is going to rebuild it. This time it is doing it quickly because it is cached. It is using the images that it downloaded previously, so it happened all very quickly, and that's how it works. So it is, if you don't remove the images, you can still rebuild again and again very quickly. So now I go back here and refresh. You get that on localhost because the by default localhost is the port 80. So port 80 goes to localhost. Now the surprising thing is that this is working in your Windows computer, and your Ubuntu is the one where you have container running. So this is something fantastic about the WSL. Now I want to show you how to work with the database. So for example, if I say here docker ps, we are running the PHP myadmin as well, which is on port 8081. So if you go here, search for localhost, this time 8081. Here we have our PHP myadmin. Too big it is. So here we need to pass the details. So if you remember, go back to the file. Here we said root password is root password. So you can set any password here. I'm gonna pass that here. As username going to be root, password going to be root password, login. And by default, we have a app DB database here set up. Now if you go into file, you can see that app DB database is defined here. So we have the database right here. In the post, if I go back, scroll down, you will see a code for our PHP file. So here, this code, if we copy this code and paste it inside our index.php, it is going to tell us that our PHP application is communicating with database or not. So then we can test that as well. So I go here, and here previously we were getting this page is for test. I'm gonna delete everything, paste this here, and you can see what is happening here. I'm saying here basically welcome to the PHP application, server name is MySQL, username is root, the same password that we added there in PHP myadmin we are passing here, the same app name we are passing here. So then we are creating a MySQL connection, and if connection is successful, it is going to give us connected. All right, and that's basically it. So here it is also checking the current database, and it is also showing that. So I save this, and you can see that I'm saving it here and in our Visual Studio Code, and it reflects straight away in Ubuntu. So that's how your development in your local system is going to be way faster. So here I refresh, you can see here, welcome to PHP app, connected successfully to database, current database name is this. So we successfully connected using PHP, MySQL, and our database is here, and you can follow this post. I'll leave the link so that you'll be able to quickly get started with it. And yeah, this is how you work with WSL and make your application working for development. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.